Conversations with a Tree by Jane Warren Campbell, narrated by the author. Each chapter in the book is prefaced by a poem also written by the author. Life is precious. Oh, dear brethren, as you walk upon this land, do you not feel the responsibility that lies beneath each step? We are one with the land. Each breath is sourced from the earth. Your disease is an extension of your ill intent. Free yourself from your pain. Connect again with the source of your life. Be kind to your earthly mother. Send her your love every day. Feel gratitude for the privilege to walk upon her shores at this time, for life is precious. Find the sacredness in your existence so that we may flourish. Chapter 1. Talking to Trees, It's All About Love. Every January 6th, I celebrate my birthday, which in itself is nothing extraordinary. However, a birthday so early in the year is like a double beginning. There are all the changes and resolutions that we think about when a new calendar year approaches, as well as the changing energy and numerology that a new personal year brings. Add to that the determination that my 56th year was going to be one of healing, and you have a formula for change. I was ready for life to be full and rich, and I knew the only way to get there was to come face to face with my wounds. At the time, I was living in a small city, working at a job that was completely out of resonance with who I am. The environment was emotionally toxic to my sensitive soul. Every day I prayed to be out of there, and the universe provided. On January 23rd, I arrived for work at 8:30 in the morning and was gone half an hour later. I'll never forget it. It was the first day of the Chinese Year of the Dragon, another new beginning. I was released from the job that I hated. Of course, I was surprised at this totally unexpected turn of events, but I connected with the blessing of it almost immediately. I went home and did my happy dance, knowing that my prayers had been answered, even though the outcome was definitely not what I had expected. I was proud of the way I handled that experience. My new mantra was, all change leads to something better, and I was doing a good job of trusting that. Then, about 6 weeks after losing my job, I learned that my landlord was selling the condo I was living in, and I had to move. This time my mind immediately went into the past and directly to fear. It brought up a series of challenges just 2 years earlier that also started in January. It was definitely not an outcome that I wanted to repeat. The words of a friend, reflecting on my experience 2 years previous, came flashing into my mind. When we enter into something out of fear, the outcome will reflect that fear. I had not considered that before. It reminded me of something I learned in my hypnotherapy training that really stood out for me. Basically, there are two ways of being in the world. We are either running from what we don't want or moving toward what we do want. I was saddened to realize that my life was spent running from instead of striving toward. Enough of that. This time I was determined to stay in a place of trust instead of dropping into the why me. I chose to believe that Spirit was providing opportunities and not hardship. My new positive mindset quickly led me to realize that with no job holding me in the city and no lease, I was free to live wherever I wanted. It is so interesting the way things work when we are in the flow of life, or perhaps I should say when we recognize the flow of life. Just 2 days before my notification of the move, I had the thought that I wanted to live away from the city and be more connected to nature. Never would I have expected that the opportunity would arrive so quickly. However, with my new mindset that life was indeed supporting me, I immediately knew where my new home would be. About half an hour from the city is a small community that I've always loved. It is a university town situated on the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. There I would be closer to nature and closer to family. By June 1st, I was moving into my new apartment, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was truly home. There were trees and birds outside my window, and one of the most beautiful views I have ever seen from the main street of town. Every day I would make the short walk downtown and wander along the dikes. From there I could see the magnificent Cape Blomidon, a large bluff jutting into the Bay of Fundy that rises 600 feet out of the water, contributing to one of the strongest tidal currents in the world. It is stunningly beautiful. I found myself in complete awe at the shift I was experiencing in my life and the beauty that was nourishing my soul. I had definitely found my nature connection, and my spirit was soaring. As I began to explore more of my new hometown, I discovered a trail that offered a different nature environment than the open space of the dike. The small wooded path leading to the trail is barely visible from the street. As I entered into the canopy of the trees, I immediately felt the serenity of the forest embrace me. The lush green pathway, accompanied by a small babbling brook, reminded me of the forest sanctuary that had brought me so much solace in my teenage years. The sweet sound of the water sang to my heart as I danced in delight for this newfound treasure. The trail took me to a small pond surrounded by a grove of hemlock trees. There was something intriguing, magical almost, about the area of the pond. On the far side, a small bridge spanned the brook as it spilled out of the pond. As I crossed the tiny bridge, I found myself face to face with one of the stately hemlocks, with the trail dividing on either side of it. At the base of the tree is a large exposed root, offering a convenient spot to sit and admire the pond and soak up the scenery of the small forest. This new trail became one of my favorite places to be as I settled into my new hometown. One day, after a few visits to the trail, I stopped to give more attention to the beautiful hemlock before passing by. I put my hands on its trunk for a few moments, observing the patterns and structure of the coarse bark under my fingers. Then I stood with my back against the large trunk, as I often like to do, sending my love and admiration before taking a seat at its base. That was when the magical journey of conversations with the tree began. As I sat on the root of the tree, I sensed an invitation into conversation. I simply had the feeling that the tree wanted to talk to me. She asked me to buy a journal and be her scribe. Because of my experience of being a channeler and connecting with unseen forces, I easily accepted that such a thing would be possible. After all, our sense of reality is constantly changing as science, and now quantum physics, expands our awareness of existence beyond the visible third-dimensional realm. The tree told me she would like to be called Henrietta, after a young woman who used to sit at her base 100 years ago, lamenting lost loves. I sensed a vision of all the people who had passed by and sat at her base over the last century. Some acknowledged her and felt her presence, and many more simply wandered by, lost in their own thoughts or the intent of their walk. I, on the other hand, was eager to hear what kind of message would come from a tree. The very next day I returned, after buying a lovely new journal to honor her request. As I sat, pen in hand, looking out over the pond with the sunlight dancing on the water, I had no idea of the significance it would have on my journey forward. It was the beginning of one of the most loving connections of my life. As the conversations with Henrietta evolved, so did the wisdom in the information that was being received. I was immersed into a mystery that no doubt our ancestors knew, and many of the shamans of today still connect to. It is beyond the norms of our everyday reality, and yet, once accepted, perhaps more real than our mundane existence. Henrietta quickly proved that she has great wisdom to share, and my frequent visits to her became the highlight of my day. Every time I entered the trail, I was nourished by the sounds of the brook and the birds and the small creatures that shared the woods. Sometimes as I sat at Henrietta's side, journal in hand, others would pass by and give a quick smile or say hello. I was amused as I wondered what they were thinking, having no idea that my journal did not contain the usual Dear Diary content. To the contrary, Henrietta was becoming a teacher, a sage, and the more I visited, the more the relationship developed. As Henrietta came to feel like a friend, I approached her one day, greeting her like I would any friend. I asked, "How are you, Henrietta?" This was her response. Asking a tree, "How are you?" is a silly question. We have only one way of being, and that is being. We do not have good days and bad days. We are. We exist. That is it. We witness that which is unfolding around us. We are aware of the noise of the saw and see that home repairs are happening close by. We notice a person walk by and observe their thoughts and emotions as they pass. We soak up the sunlight and feel the synthesis within ourselves. This is our existence. Because we do not move, we cannot run away from what is as humans do. If someone approaches us with a saw in hand, we realize that we are about to serve the earth in a different way, perhaps as firewood to warm the hearts of those who gather round the stove. They are warmed by our embers, with no thanks for what we have offered. It's not that we need the thanks, for we are happy to serve in whatever way creation brings to us. But mankind would do well to have appreciation for its own evolution, its own connection to the all that is. It is the loss of this connection that is a great part of the demise of humanity. For you see, we are part of the Creator itself, as are you. We are part of the natural world that holds the core essence of the creative force of God, or all that is. By connecting with us, you are connecting with the origins of your soul. And so, as humans consume that which is derived from the natural world, it would serve them well to consider their good fortune in having this natural product to consume. Humanity, in its evolution away from the light, has allowed itself to become very disconnected from the essence of nature. In its place is a yearning, but no true understanding of what one is yearning for. The quest for connection has led to addictions. The empty soul seeks pleasure through lust, alcohol, drugs, TV. The list goes on, and it goes on because soul satisfaction does not come from these things. The deep yearning is for your true nature, your nature as humans connected to the divine. We are here to serve you. It is our greatest pleasure to support you in whatever way we can. Thankfully for us, the trees, we have our connection to Mother Earth. She sustains us as we do her. She appreciates what we offer to her carefully planned ecosystems. She is the Great Mother, always looking to improve and grow spiritually so that she can lead her children to ever greater heights. And so, as we reach into the heavens, we are also deeply anchored into the earth. Our roots spread to embrace our Mother Earth, and our branches reach up to give praise to our Father Sun. We are balance on this earth. Those who are in the cities are lost to this way of being. Therefore, it is those who live among us, the trees, who will be the first to see the way out of darkness. It is those who appreciate the beauty around them, who also reflect that beauty from their hearts. They are the ones who will lead all of humanity out of the darkness. And so, as you sit at my base, remember these words. Life is precious. It can pass in a fleeting moment. Is it worth the headache and heartache that is your current way of being? To those who have stepped out of the rat race and know the difference, those who have stepped away from materialism are finding their way back to their hearts. It is not a big mystery. It is surrender. Surrender your life to simplicity. Stop running. Anchor yourself into the earth. Then your heart will be filled with joy. As you honor the earth and her creations, you will be honoring yourself. In honoring yourself in this way, you will feel the wholeness of life begin to bubble up in your essence. The deep yearning and emptiness will be replaced by fulfillment and wonder. Sadness will fall away to joy as you remember your true essence. This awaits you, but you must make the choice. You can let the idea of having to sacrifice your current life keep you from this choice, or you can realize that the only life worth living awaits you, and moving toward it is not sacrifice but wisdom. We are deeply delighted with the opportunity to share this knowledge with you today. For a brief moment, I was a little taken aback to be called silly, especially by a tree. However, I was quickly pulled into the message and the depth of her words. What she spoke resonated as deep truth for me. I was certainly experiencing the shift from city living to being closer to the land. I was happier than I had been in decades. Years before my experience of communicating with the trees, I remember reading 2 different books that described in great detail living more connected to the land. One was about a tribal type of living where all life was honored. The people would connect telepathically with the animals that they needed to kill for food, asking for one to sacrifice itself. They lived joy-filled lives, at one with all. As I read about such an existence, I found myself yearning for the same. In comparison to how we currently live on this earth, it seemed that all we give importance to, money, prestige, a narrow version of beauty, busyness, competition, was insignificant. In its place was a connection to one another, to the land, and to all of existence. Now the trees were telling me that we are on our way back to something similar. The basis of what they share is that we are finding our way out of the fear that has us so stressed and suppressed, and back into a life that exists more fully from the foundation of love. The mere thought of it is comfort for my weary heart. Henrietta shared many messages about love and the need for us humans to find our way back to loving ourselves in order to create the heaven on earth that we so desire. The very essence of her words often carried the energy of what I would describe as divine love. Even as I read them years later, I am moved to the depth of my heart by what she has to say. Because of the love I felt from Henrietta, I was inspired to ask, what can a tree tell humans about love? There is so much wisdom in her answer. We can tell you what true love feels like. There is no judgment, ever. Love does not judge, it accepts. A tree knows that love because it does not have the mind that creates scenarios that are out of harmony with the truth. A tree knows love as the essence of life, the light from the sun and the nourishment from the earth. The mere sustenance of life is a gift of love. Knowing that everything we need to survive is provided is love. This is true for humans as well, but you have lost that understanding. You have forgotten that all your needs are provided for. You have forgotten to appreciate the sun for the life it brings, and to thank your earthly mother for the land beneath your feet. You have forgotten that the songbirds sing for your delight. You have forgotten that the flowers bloom to appeal to your senses. We, the trees, have not forgotten, for it is all we have. We are not distracted by the need for creation, other than growing and sustaining ourselves. Therefore, we do not see anything but what is. Sometimes we see love in people, and sometimes we see fear covering up that love. Trees are kind to one another. We will grow where we are planted. If two seedlings start life side by side, they will share the soil and the sunlight, and they may grow into tall, stately trees, side by side, sharing and existing together. Do they feel each other? Oh, yes, they do, and they come to appreciate their existence in that way. They learn to live harmoniously. When they have completed their cycle on the earth and one falls, it may take the other down with it. There will be nothing but total acceptance of that. There are no conditions of existence as a tree other than the environment. Love is easy for a tree. As the trees take their sustenance from the earth and the sky, they also draw prana from the ethers and they offer it back to the earth. This is love. Prana is love. Chi, energy, it is all love. The very force that keeps you alive is love. Have you thought of it that way? It is nothing less than love. So the mere fact that you are here walking the earth is love. You are so removed from that now that you have forgotten. We, the trees, are happy to remind you, for this realization can change your life if you allow it. If you give it enough of your attention, you will be changed. You breathe love. You walk love. You exist love in action. That is what you are at the core. How you think you could live without love is merely a reflection of your forgetting. As you go about your day, remember that the energy that keeps you moving is love. As you breathe, remember that you are breathing love. And where did the air from your breath come from? It has passed through the trunks of trees. It has moved through the lungs of lovers as they join in passionate joy. It has nourished a newborn babe taking its first breath. This is the wonder of life. It is all shared. You are not alone. You have breathed the breath of someone on the other side of the world. Is this not love? It is beautiful. It is delight. It is joy. It is heaven. That of which I speak is heaven on earth. All you have to do is remember and hold it in your awareness, and you will create heaven on earth once again. It is so simple. Humans like to complicate things, but it is so simple. Love is all there is. Every time I read that message, I have to pause to let it settle into the depths of my heart, like nothing more needs to be said. My visits to Henrietta continued all summer long. After a while, I noticed I was attracting the attention of a little squirrel. It seemed to anticipate my visits as much as I looked forward to the next beautiful message from Henrietta. I would not be there for long before it made its way across the forest to one of the branches above me. It would slowly move its way down the trunk until it was just a couple of feet above my head. There it would wait in seeming curiosity at my presence. I wondered if I was, in a sense, more at one with the forest when I was so connected to Henrietta and so in love with the surroundings. I know my heart was full, filled with gratitude for the beauty of the forest and the life I was living. When we are filled with love, we vibrate at a higher frequency. I once had the experience when working with a group of young children of seeing a golden pillar of light that I believe was an angel. It was like a brief flash out of the corner of my eye. I knew I was able to see it because I was feeling so much love for the children in that moment that I had raised my vibration enough to connect to the higher frequency of light that the being existed in. Perhaps on a lesser scale, that is why the squirrel was attracted to me when I was sitting with Henrietta. In time, I realized that the squirrel wasn't the only observer of my visits with my new tree friend. The pond that supports the hemlock grove that Henrietta is part of appeared to be a breeding ground for little blue dragonflies. Actually, I believe they are damselflies. One day, as I was visiting Henrietta and fulfilling my duties as her scribe, there was a damselfly that sat on a small plant nearby. It rested there without moving like the others did. I was curious about its presence. As so often happened, Henrietta would answer my question without me even asking. She was obviously aware of all my thoughts. She told me the damselfly was recording. I didn't ask for clarification. My sense was that for some reason it had the job of recording the moment that Henrietta and I were experiencing. I did not feel the need to know more. The damselflies visited another time when I decided to connect to Henrietta from a nearby park instead of going to the trail. In the park, I could sit on a bench and relish the sight of the great variety of flowers that were carefully tended by the town gardeners. Once settled, I closed my eyes to connect with Henrietta, and then opened them to see two damselflies near my leg. Then one decided to rest on my leg and sat there as I wrote. It was a tiny red one. It would leave, seemingly to catch a small insect, and then return. It did that several times. As I made contact with Henrietta, she told me that the more I connect with the natural world, the more it connects with me. Having finished my conversation with Henrietta, I closed my journal, and as if on cue, the damselfly returned, resting beside me on the bench. At that point, I had the thought that if nature is connecting more with me, then perhaps I could connect with the damselfly. I journeyed within and was told that I had to connect to the oversoul of damselfly in a sense. As I did, a large blue damselfly came into my awareness. I asked about the meaning of the damselflies coming to me and was told that it was indeed to recognize my connection with nature. I asked about many people being attracted to dragonflies as symbols of transformation. It told me that I am transformed, like one with the natural world. As if to prove its point, I had a momentary feeling of being so connected to the nature around me that my cells were morphing and blending with my surroundings, as if there was no distinction between me and the environment. I was one with it all. It was very cool. I had just experienced one of those very brief, indescribable moments of being pulled into a different dimension. When I asked about the role of dragonflies, I got the sense, similar to Henrietta and the trees, that it is to be. Very simple. It also said humans would do well to notice nature instead of being lost in the busyness of the mind. It ended by saying that it was good for me to be sharing this, to help open the minds of humans to the possibility of existing in a deeper connection to nature. In my newfound freedom, summer continued to expand into a seeming endless realm of possibilities. One day, after receiving a message from Henrietta, I asked what else she would like me to share. She replied, "Do you remember when you stood before the sound healer in New York and burst into tears? She looked at you like you had lost it, but you knew what the tears were about. You knew that it was a recognition of that same gift within yourself, dormant but oh so ready to awaken. You can be that to others. They will see their light within you and choose to shine as brightly. This is the gift of fully living in the divine essence of who you are. Each and every one of you has this beautiful light within. When gathered together in loving support, you are the rainbow bridge that leads humanity into the new essence of who you truly are. Humanity is awakening to its God self-nature." Then, as I walked away from her and back over the bridge after saying goodbye, I could feel her sending me so much love and appreciation that I was moved to tears. I will never forget it. It is a love unlike what I have experienced from other people. It is pure and unconditional. similar to the love that I feel from the guides and higher beings of light that I work with. Love straight up with no conditions. That, I learned, is one of the greatest gifts the trees have to offer us. Well into the summer, I had a similar experience when I was offering a workshop in Toronto. Being such a nature lover, I am not fond of cities. I was also working on changing what, in the past, had been uncomfortable experiences when traveling alone. As was my focus for the year, I was determined to heal those negative memories around traveling and have a positive experience. As I was discovering, the attitude we carry into our experiences plays a large part in determining the outcome as one that is positive or negative. Even though I could feel memories of fear and discomfort in traveling alone, I had decided to turn that around. In that quest, a dear couple whom I hardly knew at all offered me a place to stay while I was in Toronto. Not only did they open their home to me, but I happened to get a drive from Nova Scotia to Toronto with one of them and had a very pleasant trip. This time I was being supported and not feeling alone. To my delight, the part of the city where they lived was full of trees and flowers. It was midsummer and everything was in full bloom. Every day, to give my host some space, I would go out for a walk around the neighborhood. I was so happy to be in such a beautiful part of the city that I was expressing my gratitude to the flowers and trees as I walked by and giving thanks to the All That Is for such a favorable traveling experience this time. On 2 different occasions while out on my walk, I found myself being moved to tears even though I was not feeling sad. Much the opposite. I was in deep gratitude, so I didn't understand what the tears were about. The second time it happened, I simply asked in my head, "What is going on?" The answer quickly came, just as it did with Henrietta. I was told that I was sending so much gratitude to the trees and flowers that they, I believe the trees in particular, were sending love back to me, and that created the feeling, that unconditional love again, that was moving me to tears. I still feel blessed whenever I think of those experiences. And so it was, my summer days passed into autumn. I felt some sadness when I noticed the trail changing as the weather turned colder. The ferns were turning brown, and the days held a chill that spoke to me of a time when I would not be comfortable sitting outdoors to write at Henrietta's side. I knew I could connect with Henrietta from home, just like I could connect with my guides without seeing them, but it created an emptiness nonetheless. It was such a glorious time visiting her so often. As if to soothe that feeling, the adventures of the summer expanded as I continued to explore the town. I had noticed a trail close to the dike that traveled along adjacent to the main street of town. One day I decided to check it out to see if I was missing anything. To be honest, the trail didn't really excite me. It didn't have the same feeling as being in the woods or the incredible view overlooking Cape Blomidon. I wandered along until it reached a residential neighborhood and then turned around to walk home. On the way back, a particular tree caught my attention. It was tall compared to the other more shrub-like trees around it. It was part of a narrow divide of trees, roses, and other bushes between the trail and the open field that led to the dike. It was a fir or spruce of some type, the kind with long hanging fronds from the branches. I had the distinct feeling that it called out to me, and that is why I stopped. It hadn't caught my attention at all when I passed by the first time. I stood there making a connection, and it immediately introduced itself as Georges, en français if you will. As I connected with him, I was intrigued. Although identifying as male, Georges had a much softer energy than Henrietta. He felt very nurturing and gentle, whereas Henrietta's energy was more matter-of-fact. Of course, I was going to take full advantage of this opportunity to communicate with another tree. Even though the environment was almost uninviting, he was so delightful that I had to return. A couple of days later, I went back with my journal, wondering if we would have the same connection I had with Henrietta, and intrigued to find out what he would have to say. I was not disappointed. Some of his messages go deep into the world of quantum physics, with information that challenges our outdated beliefs. In one of my first conversations with Georges, I asked if he could expand on the message that so often came from Henrietta about us humans finding our way back to our true nature through nature. His reply started with a delightful question indeed, which took me by surprise. Although I felt deep love from Henrietta, I hadn't heard her expressing herself with what I would consider an emotional response. When I asked Georges about this, he told me that he was simply expressing his personality with words that I could relate to. The use of the word delightful certainly did reflect his personality. This is the rest of his response to my query. A delightful question indeed, for humans have stepped far from their source, being the earth and the sun. You have been taught to be afraid of the sun. The sun is the source of all life. Without the rays of the sun falling upon this earth, you would not survive. You know this, and yet you have lost your connection to it. The same goes with the earth. You know that she provides everything you need to survive, and yet, the way it is manipulated and bastardized, it's a wonder that you can survive at all. Many are finding their way back. It is becoming so obvious now that you are beginning to understand how far removed you are from the source of all life. This is a good thing. As people make choices for food that is organic and non-GMO, you are also bringing yourselves back to the natural world and developing an appreciation for Mother Earth and the sun in a way that you have not had for eons of time. New technology will be coming very soon that will see you living in a way that can honor the earth and still have your needs met. No longer will you rape and pillage the earth for your survival. There is technology that can support all the population of the earth without causing her any harm whatsoever. Do not let the leaders of your countries tell you that this is not possible. It is, and it already exists. Soon, with the uprisal and the demands of the people, more and more will be revealed. It will soon be safe to bring these inventions forward. It will be such a beautiful turn of events, because you will be able to enjoy all the benefits of your technology and also be restoring the earth back to her pristine beauty. As you do, you will realize that your own beauty is sourced from the earth. You, as a human race, will begin to appreciate more of what is, instead of thinking everything must be something else. An example of this is that you will begin to appreciate aging instead of thinking everyone must look youthful. This will come from appreciating the fullness of life. As you appreciate the fullness of life, you do not have the desire for anything to be different than it is. Each person will be respected and nurtured to be just who they are, with all their quirks and personality traits being appreciated for what they are. From this shift in thinking, you will find much less violence on the earth. Violence comes from pain and fear acting out in the physical. When the young are raised from a place of acceptance for who they are and nurtured with kindness and gentleness, they do not have to act out anything but love when they mature and make their way into the world. All this lies before you as you find your way back to nature and your true nature. Your true nature is to be loving and kind. Right now, this is taught out of you, as you are raised in a society that compares the child to what others believe is the norm. If the child does not fit in somehow, then the child is taught to be different than its true nature in order to be accepted. This creates great pain and hardship, and it is what you see around the world. So I am delighted to speak of this and share with you what lies ahead for you in the times that you are moving into. It is very exciting for you and for all of nature. We were on the brink of extinction. Most of you do not know that, but it is true. The system almost crashed before it was rescued. And who rescued it? It was the humans who almost destroyed it. There would be no other way. That is the way of it. So it is very beautiful to see that you have saved yourselves by saving the earth. Now is the time of restoration. Just as it was a long cycle that led you to the brink of destruction, so it will be a long cycle to restoration. And yet it will immediately feel like a more gracious world, because you have hit bottom and you are on your way back up. Everything feels better than it did on the bottom. It turns out that his messages had a different feeling from Henrietta's, as well as his personality being different. Even though Henrietta was more matter-of-fact, her messages were about love and finding our way back to love. George, on the other hand, felt softer, but his communications were more emotional, more educational, as you will read further on, even more profound than what Henrietta had shared, which is saying something. This is how my year unfolded. Never could I have imagined that my faith that all change leads to something better would direct me to such incredible experiences. Henrietta continued to support me as summer turned into fall, which turned into winter. As the seasons changed and the chill of December set into my bones, I seldom made my way onto the trail. However, one day I needed to get out of the house. It was December 18th, and I was feeling very out of sorts, as if something was hanging over me, but I had no idea what. There was nothing troubling on my mind or in my life. I decided to go for a walk, hoping that getting outside might lift the heavy feeling. I knew the dike would be cold that time of year, so I bundled up and headed downtown. As I stood on the wintry shore, I felt no different. For some reason, Blomidon was not offering its usual reprieve, so I headed for the trail, where I would soon be protected from this chilling wind. As soon as I was onto the trail and among the trees, I felt better. Literally, I was only a few feet onto the path when I could feel the difference. It was so tangible that I was somewhat amazed. I wandered along aimlessly, the trail very different now that the foliage had died and the undergrowth. When I made my way to Henrietta, I leaned against her trunk for a few moments, as I often did. While there, I simply wondered to myself why I had been feeling so off-kilter. Immediately, Henrietta answered my unspoken question. She told me that I was picking up on the mass consciousness of fear around the December 21st, 2012 date that was only 3 days away. If you will remember, December 21st, 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar, and many people were equating that to mean the end of the world. The fear consciousness that was so massive that apparently I was picking up on it. Fortunately, I knew that instead of being something to fear, it was a time to be celebrated as a grand beginning. Henrietta explains what we can look for in this new era. You have asked me about humans finding their way back to their true nature, and I would say to you that this is something that is changing now, that you are at the time of the precession of the equinoxes, the name of this great cycle. Everything on the planet and all systems are changing at this time. So, to ask of man's true nature, well, that is changing as well. People must now rediscover their true nature. We see that there will be a gradual swing back to living closer to the land. People will live in smaller communities, supporting each other with food and skills. This will be a much slower and much more enjoyable manner of living than is currently found in your very hectic lifestyles and highly populated community centers. This, in essence, will be finding your way back to your nature as animal. Living closer to the land is a natural state of being for all animal species. Your draw away from the land also led to a disconnect from your true selves. This included your own innate intelligence. As you moved off the land, you moved out of your hearts and into the mind. When living in the mind, you lost the connection to the intuitive or more feminine aspect of being and became unbalanced in your importance given to the intellectual intelligence. To be intelligent without wisdom is not always useful. It is the wisdom of the intuitive aspect of intelligence that balances what is to be accomplished with that intelligence. There are certain scientists who use their intuition in their work, and they are able to make new discoveries at a much higher rate than the more cerebral members of the scientific community. The intuition is beginning to awaken again on Earth, and so it too will be leading you back to your true nature regarding your forward progress at this time. It is the intuition that will lead you to natural cures and to the knowing that much has been kept from you. As you awaken to your own inner knowing, many secrets will be revealed, no longer able to be hidden in the energy of awareness that you are awakening into. For this reason, you will begin to manage your energy resources very differently, and much will change in this regard. This is good news for your planet, for you almost drove her to extinction. When the oceans are dead, the planet and all life upon her are not far behind. I made a comment. As I write this, there is evidence that the nuclear disaster in Japan from Fukushima is now affecting life in the Pacific Ocean. Reports state that tuna being caught are all showing signs of radioactivity. Back to Henrietta. We would say that just in the brink of time, have you found your way back into your heart so that this destruction of the planet will end. There are genius solutions to all your problems on Earth, pollution and such. Genius indeed. They will begin to come forward now that the secrets are being revealed, and you will quickly be able to heal this planet that has suffered far too long. So, as a tree, I am delighted to tell you these words and share this understanding. I can see your future as I peer into the all that is. It is written there, so to speak. Your planet will be saved, with most of the population intact. This makes many happy, for it was the desired outcome. Gaia has protected you more than you know in order for you to survive. For you see, planets are life forms just like everything else. All matter comes from love. All matter. There is no exception. And so it is joyous that Gaia and all her inhabitants are here to live on in this new era. It is this new era that is leading you back to the truth of who you are. You will find more and more that people are open to thinking about the possibility of what they feel when they walk through the forest as opposed to walking through the mall. People will begin to awaken to that as it becomes more spoken of. It is good to be telling people that you speak to a tree. Many will ridicule you, yes, but you will also give many, many more the position and the permission to be honest about their relationship with trees and all of nature. It has been a bit taboo in your society, so it has gone unspoken. The radicals who are willing to step into their truth are the ones that give permission to all. And it is very important now for this to be happening so that you can heal this planet and your very souls along with it. We are delighted to see this happening, for all life everywhere is impacted by what is happening on this planet, written in bold letters. You will see in time that this is truth. If more people had known about this grand cycle, there wouldn't have been the fear that I was picking up on that day that I felt so out of sorts. Much has been kept from us regarding this grand opportunity that we are currently living in. What the Mayans knew, that is not everyday knowledge, is that the Earth moves through a cycle as our solar system travels through the Milky Way that takes about 26,000 years. December 21st, 2012, the last date on the Mayan calendar, was when the old cycle ended and a new one began. When you think about moving into a new 26,000-year cycle, hundreds of years can pass and we will still be at the beginning of this new cycle. The trees obviously know about this because they reference our evolution many times. Every time we move into a new cycle, it is an opportunity to rise up in a sense and enter a new vibrational level of being. Evidence of this is available, as scientists have recently discovered that the Schumann resonance of the Earth has increased in frequency. Until very recently, the Schumann resonance was steady at 7.83 Hz for many decades. However, as we enter this new cycle, it continues to increase. Monitors at the Russian Space Observing System recently showed spikes as high as 16.5 Hz are being observed. However, a few years after the beginning of the precession of the equinoxes, there have been reported days where the Schumann resonance is over 100 Hz. That is an incredible increase in the vibration of the Earth. What all this is leading to I find very exciting, as described by the trees. We are able to see what is about to transpire, and it is so delightful. The very energetic soup that you live in, as does all life on Earth, is changing. It is becoming more pure. Just like cleaning a home with fresh air in the spring, the Earth is being cleansed with new, higher vibrating energies, and this is leading to a great change. This is very good. The Earth would not have been able to endure much more of humanity's disrespectful actions. We are happy to tell you that all of humanity will begin to awaken to the fullness of what it is to be human, and you will come to understand that you too can communicate with trees and reach the levels of understanding where all information is stored. This is not just a special skill of one person. More and more people will begin to awaken to their own abilities and to their own intuitive knowing. It is beautiful to behold what the world is moving into. For as you become more intuitively aware, you will know how another feels when you put them down. Once you have this understanding, and especially the understanding that it is truly yourself that you are hurting, then people will stop such acts. This will expand and expand, so that over a few short years, people will become more and more loving, and the Earth will be such an easier place to live. The Earth has been a hard school, and for the sensitive people, almost too hard to endure. We are happy to see that this is changing. As part of this shift, we see you returning to nature as well. We see you choosing to live your lives more in harmony with the rhythms of the environment in which you live. This will give you more of the balance that will lead to better lives without all the stress that is killing so many of you. By choosing to walk away from the hectic lifestyles that used to sustain you, then you will become happier and come to understand that you were really kidding yourselves before about what made you happy. You will realize that many of the distractions were just that, distractions, so that you would not have to truly look at your life and admit how miserable you were. Now, with embracing a slower lifestyle, you can take time to look at what is important. Money will lose its value in the sense that it will not be seen as the only source of happiness. You will come to see that those who have always lived closer to the land have not needed monetary abundance in order to be happy. When people live closer to the land, they derive their quality of life from the land, and the earth supports them in that way. This is the harmony that you have lost. Your disconnect from nature has torn your hearts away from the earth, and you feel the loneliness from that, but do not know where to go to get it back, because you have not recognized the source of your loneliness. Now that you know it is your disconnect from nature, you can go back to that source to find it. You will begin to see very soon how fulfilling it is to be in nature. If you take the time to think about it, you will soon see how simple it is to get that fulfilling feeling back again. So, come talk to a tree, hug a tree, and see how you feel. You will feel us if you believe it is possible, and of course it is. My visit to the trail on December 18th was solid proof of what Henrietta spoke of. The shift I felt by being in the woods was immediate. Henrietta told me that reason I felt better as soon as I entered the trail is because trees don't hold fear. They only hold love. That was the reason that I immediately felt better. It was like the trees hold such a bubble of love that as soon as I entered that bubble, the fear energy couldn't penetrate it. I was amazed at the change in how I felt just by being in the woods. I went from being in a funk to feeling fabulous, and it was as easy as a walk in the park. It is evident to me that the trees are here to support us as part of this precious ecosystem of this earth. They want us to remember who we are and to restore our love of nature, which will, in turn, restore our love of self. They remind us that when we are in nature, we feel more of our authentic selves, and we develop a deeper appreciation for the natural world that we are a part of. What we appreciate and love, we care for, including ourselves. The more we return to nature, the more we will discover this peaceful state of being once again. When I reflect on that fateful day when I was released from my job, I see the great opportunity that life is always offering us. All the nuances that were aligned for me to meet Henrietta and Georges were carefully placed in my path. I feel so blessed that I had the eyes to see the way and the open heart, cracked open by circumstance, to say yes to change and possibility. The trees want us to know that we are awakening to a new existence. We are evolving, and the easiest way to integrate this change is to soften and slow down and come back to ourselves. Not surprisingly, the trees invite us into nature to find our way back, and I can attest to the benefits of doing that. They stand as sentinels of grace and acceptance, and being among them leads us back to a similar vibration within ourselves, even though we are seldom aware of it. As I healed the past, I came to understand why the trees encourage us back to self-love. When I was not fully loving myself, I would not allow myself to receive all the riches that life had to offer. My subconscious beliefs would sabotage my efforts, so I wouldn't allow my desires to become my experience. The more I healed, so I could truly love myself, the fuller life became. Often over the years, I have asked to be a messenger of love in this world. What I didn't know at the time was that I had to start with loving myself. The next conversation showed me how fully I came to understand what love is as my year of healing evolved, according to Henrietta, that is. My words are in bold in response to her questions to me. My question: what do you think love is? And this is my answer. It is the unconditional appreciation for all life. That is a very good answer. It surprises me, actually. You have a good grasp of what love is. So we will use your words to speak of love. First, you used the word unconditional. That is an important aspect of real love. There are no conditions. You do not have to behave a certain way or meet any expectation of another. Real love accepts all that is. So that is a good word to use to start the definition. Then you speak of appreciation. Again, a very wise choice. Appreciation does not speak of neediness, which is what many humans equate love with. Appreciation also has no conditions. When one is in appreciation for all life, then there is regard for all life. If you are appreciating something, you cannot be critical of it. So if humans could find the place of appreciating everything and everyone, the world would be full of love. What else could we say of love? She asked me. And I said, we could say that it is acceptance. Yes, indeed, acceptance is another aspect of love. This is the key to self-love, which is where all love comes from. If you accept all aspects of who you are, then you will be loving yourself. When you are loving yourself, there is no need to criticize or belittle yourself or others. So, acceptance means allowing. You allow yourself to be who you are, and you allow others to be who they are as well. We now have in our definition the words appreciation, acceptance, and allowing, the 3 A's of love. We would like you to remember this and use it for positive self-regard. For you see, love is the foundation to happiness. It does not come from another. It does not come from possessions. It does not come from accomplishments. It comes from the appreciation and acceptance of the self. And when you are in appreciation and acceptance of the self, then you allow the self to express honestly in the world. There is no need to put on a face of what the world wants to see. There is no need to try to be someone else, believing that you are less than perfect. There is no need to try and fit a mold. You are the mold of you. It is when you try to fit into another's perception of what your mold should be that you suffer. End the suffering by accepting that you are perfect just the way you are. Maybe you do not always behave in ways that you like, but when you start truly accepting and appreciating yourself, you will stop behaving in that way. The more you love yourself, the less unlovable you become, based on society's interpretations of love. The more you love yourself, the less you have to act out, crying out for love. You have it within. Searching for love outside of the self is never successful. Others will always view you from their perspective and their expectations, unless they are in the 3 A's of love themselves. Then they will see you as perfect and will not look to you to fill their empty heart space. If they are not searching outside of themselves, then they will not look to you for their awareness of love. But if you are searching for love outside of yourself, with others who are doing the same, that is the formula for suffering. They will not see the fullness of you. They cannot, because they do not see it for themselves. Therefore, they will expect you to fill the emptiness that they experience, and when you do not live up to those expectations, the honeymoon is over. Whereas when your love comes from within, there is no honeymoon period. It is balanced love. It is not the highs and lows of emotion. It is the deep-seated feeling state of love. There is a difference. Only those who get glimpses of the depths of unconditional love have an awareness of what truly it feels like. I asked, why are you expressing this way? It is different from your usual mode of expression. It is because of the place where humanity is in their evolution at this time, and the evolution of the earth. Because we have passed December 21st, 2012, many people have thought that the world is not ending, so they can just go about life the way they always have. This is not the truth. The world has and is still changing. In order for humanity to keep up with the evolution of the earth, there is the need to find this love within the self. Without it, people will be living the expression of not love, and that does not feel very good. We are in a new time with new energies on the earth. Those energies mean that more than ever, man is a creator of his own life. What you create is a reflection of your love of self and what you believe you deserve. It is for this reason that we speak of love in this way. You are a channel for this work, Jane, and this is why it comes through you via many different sources. It feels repetitive to you, because regardless of who you are connecting with, you seem to have this overview of messages that are all related. It is because it is your mission at this time to be delivering this message. It is your work for this year to be doing this. It is not all that you will do, but it is a big part of the focus for the year. We know of your intentions to publish this work, and so it is an opportunity to educate humanity about what is important in these years following the shift of the ages. From my own healing journey and working to support others, I have discovered the deep connection between our hidden subconscious beliefs and the reality we create for ourselves. What many people don't realize is that all of our responses in the world come from our beliefs. We can think happy thoughts and try to turn our lives around, but as long as we are not truly loving ourselves deep inside, we will not create the life we dream of. This book begins with love, because the trees want us to know that life is all about love. It's not just love that we feel in our hearts. According to the trees, love is life itself. This is from Henrietta. Can there be too much love in the world? I can't imagine why such a thing could be true. Love is all there is. Love is the reason for existence. Love is what keeps your molecules together. Without love, you would just be a bunch of particles floating out in space. So how could love ever be a topic that is spoken of too often? Indeed, it is not spoken of often enough, at least in the deeper understanding of what love truly is. For you see, love truly is the essence of all life. It is love that opens the petals of a flower. It is love that calls the hummingbird to feed of its nectar. It is love that causes hunger in the wolf. It is love that heals the tears of a child. It is love that harms the child and starves the wolf and kills the flowers. You just have trouble seeing it that way. There is love behind everything. It is just that you humans like it more when the love feels good. And yet, if you stay with your pain long enough, with enough sincerity, you will find the love there. When a human can see love behind the darkness, they have mastered the human existence. And that is where many of you are headed in these times. That is where the earth is headed. Mother Earth, in her great love for all the life forms upon her surface and below it, knows well of this. She has endured more than you truly are aware of in her service to all. On the brink of destruction, she still waits for you. She holds out for you in the hope that one more person will travel with her into the higher realms of existence. Oh, the magic in the understanding of which we speak. It is beautiful indeed. Again, the trees offered such a beautiful message that I could read it over and over. This is a taste of what the trees have taught me about love. It is messages like the ones I have shared with you that led me out of hardship and despair and assisted me in my own personal evolution into peace and contentment. However, that journey was not always easy. As the year unfolded, I still had to face deeply hidden limiting beliefs that I needed to heal in order to fully embrace the potential of living in a state of self-acceptance. As I write this, I realize it is symbolic of what is happening now in the bigger picture. There is war and suffering as the old falls away. It must crumble in order for a new earth to manifest. Just as I was determined to heal and create a new and better life for myself, humanity as a team must do the same as we are transformed from the ashes of the past. And just as I was loved and supported by the trees, they stand as sentinels of love, ready to support all of humanity in the same way. In the next chapter, I share the struggle I went through as the year unfolded. It is offered as a story of hope for the evolution of humanity as we rise out of the mire that has been our way of living for centuries into the great awakening that is available to us all in these magnificent times.